Hello everyone and welcome back to SimRacingOnline. This is round 4 of the DRM Revival Championship. This round from the legendary Nurburgring Nordschleife. It's going to be an absolutely fantastic one, and I hope you're all going to enjoy it as much as I definitely am. As you can see, we have an extended qualifying session today due to the sheer length of the circuit, and that will allow people to actually get a number of laps in rather than the maybe one, maybe even zero that they would get otherwise. Even though you do have the opportunity to get around this track in maybe 8 or 9 minutes, whatever car you're in. Paul Anstey is currently leading them around. He will be the first to start a flying lap. Although, of course, here, flying laps take a very, very long time. 8 or 9 minutes as a whole. And that's one of the main things that makes the Nurburgring Nordschleife so legendary. The fact that it's extremely long, extremely difficult to learn, and sometimes it's difficult to memorize the track, to remember where you are on the circuit. And as a result, the drivers would have had to have done a lot of practice here, and we'll be hoping that the Nurburgring knowledge is enough to carry them around this most treacherous of circuits. In terms of the championship, the drivers you've got to be looking out for, Tim Muttram is leading overall from Laurent Lutz. They are separated by 6 points in the Division 1 Championship, and then Filip Stojanovic, after his win last time out, is just 3 points behind Lons, so very close for the top of the Div 1 standings. In Div 2, Tony Talviti is leading by 4 points from Ted Ho, although I have been told that Ted Ho will not be driving today due to work commitments, I'm afraid. So the main fight now is between Tony Talviti and Max Shepard, and they are separated by 11 points, so still relatively close. John Van der Geest also up there, he's on 90 points, so that is 16 behind Talviti. 5th in the Div 2 Championship is Kirilov, and 4th and 5th in the Div 1 Championship are Michal Mazurek and Phil Brown, as Anstey gets it all wrong over the grass there. Let's see who else. So we've got Laurent Lons following him around. Lons, of course, 2nd in the championship overall in the Porsche. Won at Meadowdale, I believe. And then you also have, so there's Kirill Kirilov. He is one of the fastest drivers in Div 2, often takes pole position, but sadly hasn't had the same kind of race pace, the same sort of race consistency as he's had at the other rounds. There's Tim Muttram, our overall championship leader, the fastest car on track for most of the series so far. He won at, I think, Brands Hatch. Let me just double check that. Just going slightly wide there. Yes, indeed, he won at Brands Hatch. I should know because I commentated that race, but anyway, Tim Muttram, one of the best drivers that SimRacingOnline has to offer. He has driven many SimRacingOnline events in the past. He won the GT Legends Classic Sports Car Championship that was broadcasted not too long ago. He won the Porsche 718 Classic Tour, and he won the Alfa Romeo 33 Stradale Campionato. And he's had many other wins in other series as well. His most recent win in the the Tuesday night racing Porsche Cup at Kyalami on Assetto Corsa Competizioni. But anyway, so very good in anything with a roof, and even without a roof. We saw that he was very competitive in the Grand Prix Legends series as well. Here's Tony Talviti, DRM series leader. Another one of the best drivers that SimRacingOnline has to offer. He has now done over 200 SimRacingOnline events, which is possibly the most of anyone. Let me double check that quickly. But anyway, Tony Talviti, one of the best drivers here. He's won plenty of championships as well. RSS GT1, GT2, we saw that live streamed. Multi-class endurance series in LMP2 and LMP3. ACD Endurance Cup UK, Gear Multiclass Endurance the previous season, and as far back as 2018, Group C and Flat 6 Multiclass Endurance in the GT3 class. Hasn't actually won a championship this year yet, 2020, so this would be his first if he was to get it. And at this rate, it is looking pretty good for the Lancia driver in the second of our two classes here. His most recent win was in the FKR GT3 GT4 Multiclass Winter Championship, driving a Porsche GT4, and that was at the Monza circuit. So again, we got another driver here who is very good in anything with a roof. But anyway, that's Tony Talviti. As we fly down the Dottingerhohe Strait, one of the longest straights in motorsport. Behind him, you have Max Shepard, who is his nearest championship contender. Now that Ted Hu is not here, and apologies about my dog barking in the background if you can hear him. Let me just check actually whether Talviti does have the most events of any driver. Whoa, nowhere near. My apologies, I don't know why I thought that. He actually has the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10th most. The most is actually held by Ken Jagger, who is one of the founders of the series, who has done 572 SimRacingOnline events. That is quite something there. And for context, how many have I done? Let me double check that. I've done 77, so that's quite a lot more. Max Shepard just starting her qualifying lap on the Grand Prix Tracker, and it is going to be an extremely long qualifying lap. Because of course it is the Nurburgring Nordschleife. It is well, it's not just the Nordschleife. As you can see here, they're using the Grand Prix circuit as well, the more modern addition to the track. So you have to actually traverse both of them, making it one of the toughest circuits in motorsports, especially sim racing. Max Shepard yet to win a race with SimRacingOnline. She's done 22 races, or 22 events. This is her 23rd. She's scored 5 second places, but she has not yet scored a win. She's about to get overtaken by a Ford Capri there, so needs to make sure she doesn't lose too much time in the process. Max Shepard, second in the Division 2 Championship. Her previous she's actually got 2 podiums in this series so far. She was on the podium in class in the first 2 rounds of the season, although didn't have as good a race last time out. Was only 6th at whoa, big slide there, as through goes I think Lewis de Vore in the Ford Capri. But anyway, I'm going to quickly take a break and let my cat out because she is meowing at me, and I will be right back in a few seconds. Alright, my apologies about that, but at least I left you with some good Nurburgring Nordschleife action. That was indeed Lewis de Vore who we saw passing Max Shepard there, and de Vore hasn't had the best of starts to the championship. Actually missed a round, and of course was looking set for a win at Brands Hatch until he made a pit stop, and he was one of the only drivers to make a pit stop on that day. We're not expecting any pit stops here at the Nordschleife. Bob Kendall, a new addition to the Zach Speed. I don't think we have seen him yet in the championship, so it's good to see him here today. Let me just double check actually if we've seen Bob Kendall in SimRacingOnline at all, because that's not a name that I recognise. So he may well be a brand new driver here. Let me double check that. Oh, far from it, I'm afraid. 134 overall races, yes indeed, with SimRacingOnline. Hasn't done that many recent events, but anyway, his... What am I looking at? Sorry, I'm getting a little confused with what I'm looking at. Actually, I may have got that completely wrong, because he appears to have two different sets of driver stats, so that's bizarre. But anyway, but yeah, his recent events have all been in the Ferrari 458 Challenge Cup. That's interesting. In a 458 GT2. But anyway, Bob Kendall getting out of the way there, so obviously not on a flying lap. He's just been passed by Filip Stojanovic, who is third in the Div 1 Championship. Stojanovic, of course, relatively... a bit of... Oh, into the wall there. I was going to say a bit of a newer driver to SimRacingOnline. He is one of the beta testers of the car mod that we're using, and he will have a damaged car and a damaged lap time after that. Mark Jonzo's just gone through. He appears to be on a decent lap so far. Jonzo has... How many races has he actually made this season? Interestingly, Jonzo on the championship standings is registered as Mark Johnson, so I reckon that Jonzo is probably just a nickname. That confused me for a second there. But yeah, Jonzo, or Johnson, is 7th in the championship, having made all 3 of the rounds so far. Quite a few drivers have made every round. That is very, very good to see. Kimi Martikainen there hasn't had such good luck. Had a big flip last time out at the Ring. I didn't even know you could do blowovers in Assetto Corsa until Kimi managed to pull it off. Has a habit of having spectacular accidents, I'm afraid. He ended up in the sea at a race I commentated at Monaco not too long ago, and can't say I've ever seen that before. But anyway, Martikainen doing his best in the Toyota Celica there. Jos Ergos drove an incredible race last time out at the Ring. He was called Driver of the Day by many. And of course, I gave my Driver of the Day award to Ted Ho, but Ted himself said, no, I think Jos had a harder job considering he was in the Ford Escort, which he doesn't consider to be as fast as the BMW 2002, and as a result, Ergos may well have done an even more impressive job. Jumped up through almost through the entire field at the first corner as several other drivers went off, and Ergos was one of the only drivers to traverse turn 1 properly, and ended up finishing 2nd in class after that. It was one of his best races, possibly his best race in SimRacingOnline, and he appears to be getting a bit held up by Martikainen here, which he won't be feeling great about. But yeah, still getting held up. He would do with the Dottinger Hohe coming a bit earlier here, because a long straight like that would of course play into the advantage of the Celica, but that's okay because they're not in the same class, so it would allow Ergos to have a bit more clean air. Michal Mazurek there, 4th in the championship in the very fluorescent Porsche 935. Stefan Lagodin, Div 1 Ford Capri. Sometimes mixes in with the Div 2 runners, but tends to be just about on the faster side. Phil Brown, as we get our first few laps being set. Anstey at the top so far. Tim Muttram goes to the top 8 seconds faster than Anstey so far. That's a pretty good lap from Tim Muttram there. Now those drivers are going to get one more opportunity if they want it, judging by the time. Here's Maxim Tendil. Not not having the greatest of races last time out. He's 6th in Div 2 in one of the Ford Escorts, which, as I said, isn't considered to be one of the best cars. As Lewis de 4 there goes to 2nd, 820.009. Tony Talviti, top of the Div 2 so far, ahead of Kirill Kirilov. They will get one more lap as well if they want it. Max Shepard not quite as quick yet. Shepard appears to be, I hasten to say, or I don't hate, I'm reluctant to say, that's the right word for this, that Shepard is losing pace, but she does seem to be getting a little less confident as the series goes on. Hopefully she can gain that momentum back again. There's Jens Roos in that's another Ford Escort there. The Escort's a great looking car, good all-rounder too. I love how kind of square it is. It's very 1970s, looks fantastic. Matteo Santini, now this was interesting. He was one of the fastest drivers in an R-Factor 2 race the other day. It was a Formula 3 race at Sonoma. Actually won race 1 in that. Got taken out in race 2, but I was in that race and I can tell you he was very, very quick. Mariusz Lebioda struggled to get into the server before the session, so didn't get that much practice. Hopefully he can still put in a decent lap anyway. Meanwhile, Phil Brown's just gone 2nd, 8:19.047. Tim Muttram miles ahead of anyone else. This is very much a kind of circuit that suits him. Very old school, very Grand Prix 1967, which is where I believe he came from, sim racing ways. And Tim Muttram showing that experience reaps rewards. Oh, is Paul Anstey's off? I don't think Paul Anstey's going to get another lap in, I'm afraid. There goes Lauren Lawrence. We're back to the start, actually, in terms of drivers setting laps. So let's have a look at Phil Brown, who is just coming off the Grand Prix, or coming towards the end of the Grand Prix Strecker in the Jolly Club Ferrari 308. Now, Phil Brown is always super quick. Doesn't always produce the results, although he does have a podium already this season. And he's got Stefan Lagodin, I think, just up the road there in the Ford Capri. Probably won't catch him too soon, although maybe a little way into the lap. Phil Brown almost 7 seconds off Tim Muttram though, so realistically he's trying to pull away from Lewis de 4 more than anything, or any of the other drivers who can set competitive laps. If you look at the lap times on the left hand side, they look rather spread out if you're used to shorter circuit racing, but you have to remember that all of the gaps are very much multiplied here, so this isn't really that much different from a normal race. It's just a much longer track, and therefore the gaps, at least in terms of the times, are going to be wider anyway. And that's why Tim Muttram is currently leading qualifying by almost 7 seconds here. Over the crest of the hill goes Phil Brown through Flugplatz. Very fast corner. Keeps it just on the right, on the correct side of the lane. Into Schwedenkreuz. Let's ride on board with him through here actually, because I want to see just what he's doing with his steering over the crest and into the braking zone. Oh, and he's running wide, just like Paul Anstey did. And that will be his last opportunity of going quicker down the drain. Tim Muttram is also off, so Muttram will not be going any faster. Let's have a look into the Div 2 runners. So Talviti currently the top of those by quite a way. Quite a decent way there. Can Jos Ogos get into the top 3 maybe? I think that's probably the biggest story in Div 2 at this point in time. The timer ticking down, but it could be quite a while after it ticks to 0 until the end of the qualifying session because we still need to wait for everyone to either abandon their laps or finish them, and if they do decide to finish them, you know, that could be anywhere up to 8 minutes depending on where they are on the track. Santini's just gone to the top. Brilliant lap from Matteo Santini. I did not see that coming. And Matteo Santini, who pulls off the road now, I think he knows that he's done enough with that. Not a second ahead of Mottram, but that's actually quite a close qualifying Nurburgring wise. And Matteo Santini, P1 at the time being 8:11.867. That is pretty impressive there, as Brown makes it back to the start. I think you are allowed to escape out and then head back out onto the track again, but from there it really won't matter because he doesn't have anywhere near enough time to get around and start another lap. Let's go back to watching Jos Ogos. I'm still very interested to see, can he get into the top 3? He's less than a second off Maxime Tendel there. I think a top 3 in qualifying is very much doable for Ogos, depending on how clean this lap is and how committed he is. Here at the Nordschleife, it's all about knowing the track. You can be the best driver in the world, but if you don't know the track, you're not going to learn it quick enough to be competitive in qualifying. So this is going to be pretty much decided by who has the most experience here, and who can be more confident with the difficult winding curves of the Eifel region of Germany, the Black Forest. The Nurburgring, of course, these days mainly used for its shorter Grand Prix circuit that hosts things such as the World Endurance Championship, and of course this year Formula 1 with the Eifel Grand Prix. But the Nurburgring Nordschleife, of course, held its fair share of Grand Prix itself back in the day, from the 1950s all the way through to 1976, where it was abandoned after health and safety concerns, including driver boycotts, and of course Niki Lauda's famous fiery accident at the Bergwerk section of the circuit. The checkered flag is now out, and we are waiting for the remaining runners to cross the line. Jos Ogos going to be about 2 more minutes maybe, judging by where he is on the track. He's heading towards the Stefan Beloff S, past one of the few gravel traps on the circuit. You really don't get that many of them here. It's looking currently like Tony Talviti will be considerably on pole in Div 2. Lauren Lons escaped back to the pits, but Jos Ogos really ragging his car over the crest there. This is looking very smooth from Jos. He's a driver who's really started to shine in the last event in particular, but this as well is looking like a very mature lap. Not that I expected anything else of him, but you know, it's great to see it coming to fruition. Jos Ogos himself, a winner in a couple of series that we've done. The Longford Special Multi-Class event for Group 6. I was going to be in that race, but sadly had to skip it. I can't remember exactly why. Possibly an overlapping commentary. No, he didn't. Oh, he came second in that. Okay, so he hasn't actually won any series yet. But yeah, that was one that he did well in. Came second. Did recently win a round of the historic F3 trophy at Belgium. Interesting. Stojanovic goes up to 3rd in the Div 1 order, but here comes Jos Ogos. Does he get into the top 3 in Div 2? Across the line, just needs to find a second. And he does it. There we go. Finds much more than a second. Great lap from Jos Urgos. He goes easily into the top 3. So it's Talviti, Kirilov and Urgos in that category. Jonzo backs out. And I think, unless there's someone else that I'm forgetting, that may be the end of the session. Just want to cut back a bit to see if anyone else is coming across the line. Yeah. Look away if you're epileptic, sorry about that. Matteo Santini has taken pole position. It's safe to look now. Tim Much from second. Less than 7/10 for second behind. That was actually really close. As far as the Nurburgring is concerned. Filip Stojanovic third place. Phil Brown fourth. Then it's Lewis de Fort, Paul Anstey, Laurent Luns, Michal Mazurek. Then Div 2 pole sitter Tony Talviti. Great lap from him. Less than a second ahead of... Oh wait, Lagodin is not a Div 2, so he doesn't have to worry about him. Kirill Kirilov is a second Div 2. Then it's Jos Urgos, Maxim Tendel, Max Shepard, Mark Jonzo, Kimi Matikainen, Jens Roos, Bob Kendall, and Mariusz Lebioda, who did not set a qualifying lap, as you can see. But anyway, so 19 drivers in this order. Potentially more actually, because Tudor Morris, John Van der Geest and Henri Miettinen all here. Don't know why, is Lagodin being registered twice? Yes, he is. So, yeah, Morris, Van der Geest and Miettinen also here, despite not going out in qualifying. So, we could have up to 22 cars in this race, which would be wonderful to see. There's a guy called James on the server not too long ago as well, but it doesn't look as if he's going to be making it to the race, I'm afraid. Anyway. So, we're preparing to start the hour-long race at the Nurburgring. Hello to everyone joining us in the YouTube chat. Brett Metcalf says good evening, Caitlin. Good evening to you as well. You've tuned in for what is shaping up to be an absolute thriller, I'm sure. It does look as if Miettinen, Van der Geest and Morris will take the grid at the back there. Don't know what's going on with the cars, but anyway, it's going to be Santini and Muttram side by side on the front row of the grid. Hello as well to Flamethrower 3000 saying hi, all, nice to see old friends, and also George D1509 as well. Just a few seconds to go now until the race begins. You're going to see the 6 red lights at the front of the field, and when they go out we will be underway for an hour of racing at the notorious Nurburgring Nordschleife. Here we go, flames licking from the back of the cars, and they shoot towards turn 1. There we go. Let's take a look at the front of the grid. Matteo Santini, good start from him there. The Ford Capri is going to be leading us down. 4 different makes in the top 4 as we fly towards turn 1. Stojanovic coming around the outside. Great start from Stojanovic. He's going to take the lead in all of that. That is quite something, but it cuts back. So Santini gets the lead back there. Santini, Stojanovic, Muttram, Lund, and our top Div 2 is Tony Talviti, who gets away ahead of Max Shepard. Has everyone else come through safely? Brown losing places. He's got a little out of the groove. Kirilov on his inside. Tendo around the outside. Kirilov on the grass and spins Brown a little. I think Brown's just about got away with that actually. Kirilov backs out of it all. And they all stream through, so yes, I think it has been a safe start. What is Lagodin doing there? I don't know what's going on with all of that, but anyway, Matteo Santini leading from Filip Stojanovic. And there we see the order establishing itself on the left-hand side of our screen, so we can keep an eye on what is going on. We're heading out towards the NGK chicane, one of the most difficult parts of the... As Miettinen, I think, has gone off. Yes, he has. Henri Miettinen, who started from the back, has had a spin on the first lap, one of the first incidents of this race. We're now heading out towards the actual Nordschleife itself for the very first time. This is when it starts to get serious. And the drivers really have to start focusing on their lines, focusing on not touching the grass. Into the hats and back. A series of S-bends. Difficult to handle when your mind has only just switched off the slightly easier Grand Prix tracker. You see the tall trees in the background there waiting to pounce. Waiting to catch unsuspecting cars. Lewis DeFore, I think, has made a mistake. Ignore the glitchiness. Oh no! Well, actually, I think something's gone wrong there because Talviti has been. Yeah, so that's a real. There's been a problem with DeFore. He's glitching down the straight, and it's caught out Tony Talviti, who has bounced off the wall, and that has given the Div 2 lead to Max Shepard. Now Muttrum's passed Stojanovic for second place, so it's all change here, and it looks as if DeFore may be out of the race. Lebioda now off the road, so it looks as if he's been caught up with it as well, and DeFore really needs to retire because he is lagging so much that he is becoming a bit of a danger to other drivers, I'm afraid. But yeah, big shame for Tony Talviti, so that's given the lead to Shepard, followed by Ogos. So Ogos again second in Div 2, and then not Martikainen, Jens Roos I think will be third in Div 2 at this point in time, as Stojanovic runs slightly wide there. The top three breaking away from the rest of the pack as it all kicks off behind them. But what can Muttrum do about getting past Santini? I'm interested to see what happens when they get onto the Dottinger Höhe near the end of this lap, the long straight, because there's going to be so much slipstreaming going on there. And these cars, you know, big wings, slick tyres as well, they are going to be very slipstream dependent, I can imagine. And I wouldn't be surprised if the top three order completely swaps on that straight. So that's going to be quite something to see. And Muttrum and Stojanovic just need to make sure they can stick with Matteo Santini, who's leading the way on this opening lap of the Nurburgring Nordschleife. Through go the other cars. Santini building up a bit of a lead at this point in the lap, 2 seconds on the timing screen, but it is by no means over yet. And the Dottinger Höhe and the rest of the lap could very much come into play. Tony Talviti has just taken third in Div 2, away from Jens Roos. Here you see some of the Div 2 runners sweeping through, as well as Mark Jonzo, who's just gone a little bit wide, being passed by Henri Miettinen, recovering after his spin. And the Div 2 runners don't have to worry so much about being lapped by Div 1 runners in this race. They're, of course, with the longer track, they're not going to be under so much pressure, so much attack as they were before. Muttrum now back in a second's gap of Matteo Santini. This is one of the really slipstreamy parts of the circuit. Gets a wheel over the grass. We've now got an almost flat out right-hander there. And we're heading towards one of the most iconic parts of the circuit, past the steel tracker. Whoa, big slide from Muttrum, and he's in the wall! Muttrum making a very uncharacteristic error, and he's coming back onto the track. Stojanovic gets through. Muttrum, does just about get it going before being passed by Laurent Lunds. Actually, Lunds is on the inside, and he still has the inside for the carousel. Muttrum over the curb, and he's going to have to take the long way around, the flatter part of the carousel. Somehow manages to keep the place, but yeah, very uncharacteristic mistake from Muttrum. Doesn't have steering damage by the looks of things, but yeah, that could really affect this race. Jos Ogos is now right behind Max Shepard. He's passed Phil Brown and all of that, and Shepard herself is being held up by Stefan Legoden. So this is fascinating here. Div 2 battle on the first lap, just as we saw at the Lautsitzring last time out. Although at the Lautsitzring it was due to drivers just flying off the road at turn 1. Here we've got Ogos, genuinely getting a much better exit than Shepard there. This is very, very interesting. Shepard was saying she felt that this was going to be possibly the most difficult race of her life, but she felt more confident about this than she did about the last one, which is a good sign because the last one wasn't really a good race for her, and this race already going better. But we are still in the very, very early stages of competition here. Up the hill through Brunchen. Fun fact, Brunchen sees the most accidents of any track day location in the world. So of any corner of any circuit, that one sees the most accidents on track days. Why? I'm not really sure, because I've never really had that much trouble with it. I would say that for sure you'd be more likely to see accidents at Schwedenkreuz or the Foxhole. But anyway, Brunchen it is for some weird reason. Here we come towards the latter part of the track. The next corner after this one will be the Kleiner Carousel, the slightly smaller mimicky carousel, and Urgos is side by side with Shepard on the exit. I noticed that Shepard was slightly wider in, and Urgos ran the outside. Great move. Urgos leads Div 2, but Shepard is going to have a massive slipstream down the straight. Phil Brown's probably going to slipstream his way past both of them, as he does have the faster car here. Santini, meanwhile, leads the race by 6 seconds as a result of the incident for Muttram. Brown indeed gets past both Shepard and Urgos. Shepard now to the right hand side of Urgos, and you see the overspeed there of the BMW absolutely flying through with the slipstream. The BMW may actually be a faster car anyway. Brown was able to use that humongous overspeed to get past Lagodin in the process. And yeah, the order not staying the same at all on the Dottinger Hohe. I wasn't expecting that it would. But yeah, it's all changed down the straight. Div 1 didn't change that much, but Max Shepard has used it to reclaim the lead of Division 2. Ignore the car in third place there. That's Kimi Matikainen, who is in a higher class, so not really fighting with these guys for podium position, as much as he is fighting with them for track position. Close to 4, passing Kirillov. Don't know why Div 4 is so far down the... Oh yes, I do. It's because of his laggy instance. So hopefully he's got those sorted, because he is still running in the race. Interestingly, Talviti also still running, and he is still third in Div 2. Oh, his Urgos there looked a little braver on the brakes into the I'm going to say the cut-off hairpin there, the hairpin that allows you to skip the Dunlop hairpin, as well as the Michael Schumacher S and all that whatnot. Jos Urgos really racy in the early stages of this race. We're 10 minutes in already and only on lap 2, which shows you just how long the Nordschleife actually is. I'm going to be able to actually count the laps for once. This is going to be interesting. Shepard wider in, tighter out. That appears to be our strategy today. Urgos much braver on the brakes, but of course can't do anything with it because there's a car in his way. And Shepard doesn't need to go any faster than this. She knows that, or at least I think she may know that she's leading Div 2. And if she does, she knows that she's not really fighting anyone ahead of her. She can afford to back up Urgos a bit. But anyway, won't be hugely enjoying this pressure. Jos Urgos putting her under a lot of stress as Matikainen there kicks up the dust behind. Into Flugplatz. This is one of my favourite parts of the course. Over a crest, into a dip, over another crest. You get air there in several cars. Back in the days of Formula 1. Oh, as Anstey I think's had enough, and it's at the same place he had enough in qualifying. It's Arenberg. He's lost 5th place, so Michal Majerek 5th. Anstey is down to 6th. Also Jonzo passing Miettinen there, and we've lost to 4, so that is probably due to his laggy issues, I'm afraid. Is everyone else still running? Looks like it. Vandeke's struggling a bit, but still running in this race in last position. Closer, pretty much the closest 2 cars on the track are Shepard and Urgos. Admittedly, Johnson's just passed Kirilov for P14, but anyway, Martikainen could really spice things up in this fight here. That is until they get to the Dottinger Haar and Martikainen goes flying past both of them. But anyway, for the time being, he is a little spanner in the works for this scrap, due to the fact that he has a theoretically much faster car, but struggling to find a way through so far. That just shows you how good Max Shepard and Jos Urgos, or how well both of them are doing in this race. I believe actually, Jos Urgos, his first win in SimRacingOnline was the historic Formula 3 race that I mentioned to you. Oh, and he's up the inside. Oh, wow. Had to back out of that one. Had to lock up a tire a little to avoid Max Shepard there. I think possibly going for a little over-ambitious manoeuvre down into Versifen. But anyway. Yeah, as I was saying, that was Urgos' first win. And Shepard is still looking for her first win. So these two, relatively inexperienced in terms of SimRacingOnline success so far, and both want to taste that champagne. Not that there is any champagne, but you know, Johnson, I think, or Jonzo has, well, and Johnson is Jonzo, but anyway, has just had a little rotation at Versifen. Easy place to lose it. The elevation change means the car can be a little unpredictable into that, but manages to recover to the race in 18th position. Again, not having the greatest of days so far, but still going, so props to him for that. Omri Miettinen, I think, has had an incident. Bit of a spin. Miettinen's been in the wars today. Seems to be very quick. I mean, he's passed a couple of his rivals despite the spins. And Urgos, I think, has just had an incident as well. Look at that. Urgos dropping back. He's going to be under pressure from Talviti here for second in Div 2. So that gives Shepard some breathing room. Talviti on the outside. Sweeps around the outside. Gets it, I think, keeps it off the grass. And Tony Talviti is second in Div 2. Opportunistic from Talviti. A shame for Urgos. We didn't see how that happened, whether there was contact between him and Shepard or not. But anyway, the result is that Shepard is now leading Div 2 by about 7 seconds, and Urgos is down to P3. So those are our lead battles over for the time being. I wonder what Tony Talviti can do about reeling in Shepard and Martikainen ahead. It'll be interesting to see. Tony Talviti, championship leader, extremely quick driver, and he'll know that he stands a very good chance of winning this race, and indeed he does. Just needs to keep it consistent and keep putting the power down safely and quickly. That's a lot of the strategy at the Nurburgring, just kind of keeping it clean, because it's so easy to make a mistake here that you can reasonably assume that your opponent is going to make some kind of mistake at some point, maybe multiple, and if you can put yourself in a position to benefit from that, to capitalize on those mistakes, then you are all set for a very good result. So yeah, if you don't spin, you win a lot of the time. one of my, I actually have a friend who did the Nurburgring 24 Hours here this year, and she, I'm not going to name names, she was quite a long way off the pace in the rain near the start of the race, but due to just keeping it clean when some of her opponents didn't, she ended up well and truly in the contention for a podium finish in her class. Didn't end up getting it in the end, sadly, but was close anyway. Tim Muttram very close to the back of Stojanovic, but Ogos, I think, is more likely to make a move on Talviti here. Down the straight, let's watch from Talviti. Look to the left-hand side, you can see the red arrow there indicating where Ogos is. And it looks as if Talviti has a much faster car, because Ogos theoretically should have been through and gone by now. So Talviti, using the superior straight line speed of the Lancia, somehow stays ahead of Jos Ogos there. That would be a little frustrating by Ogos, or for Ogos, but you know, Talviti keeps second. Brown, I think, is off again. Brown now has lost 6th place to Anstey and is struggling to get the car started. Reversing onto the line. Come on, everyone, please see him, please avoid him. Okay, Lagodin gets through, Shepard gets through, and Brown recovers to the race, but he is now in and amongst the Division 2 pack, being passed by Matikainen on the inside there. There's damage to the front of Brown's car. You can see the scuff marks, and yeah, not a very clean race for Brown so far. This is what I'm talking about. You know, Brown, he's a quick driver, we've seen that, but you don't get anything for crashing. Except maybe a bit of a headache, but anyway. We now have 2 battles for 2nd place going on. Stojanovic versus Muttram for 2nd in their class, and Talviti versus Ogos for 2nd in theirs. Talviti versus Ogos is also caught up to Brown, actually. This could be interesting. Let me watch this quickly. They're currently on the Grand Prix track. Oh, Brown and Matikainen, look at that. They appear to be getting a little held up. Well, the Div 1s will be getting away on this little straight here, but for a long time they're just going through twisty bits. The dotting of her is not for another, you know, 5 or 6 minutes or so. Oh, look at that, very much getting held up on the exit there. Ogos has a real chance of getting back through here. Talking of back through, Tim Muttram back through to 2nd place on Filip Stojanovic. Sorry we missed it, but you know, it's difficult to watch 2 scraps at once, especially when you don't have replays. Ogos and Talviti into the hats and back. There are the Div 1s in front. Shepard is long gone from this scrap. We are 20 minutes into this race now, so a third of the way through. It's actually been flying by a little. Talking of flying, over the crest of the hill into Flugplatz. Flugplatz literally translates to airport from German, and that, I think, is because there's an airport next to the track, not because the cars get air through there, but I may be wrong. Brown going for a little cheeky look at Matikainen up in front. That was the end of a straighter section. Did he keep it on the road there? Brown looked to be going very wide. Well, he did. I think he had to slow it down a little, but he has kept it on the road, as Mietten and Nintendo have apparently swapped for 4th in class. But I really do not want to miss anything between these two. Also, Muttram and Stojanovic getting close again, so if I miss anything there, I apologise in advance, but anyway. Ogos. Oh, taking a very different line on the exit of the Adna Forster to Tony Talviti. And going through on the outside, is either side by side, and yes, he gets the drag, so Jos Ogos back into 2nd position, slightly benefiting from the traffic in front of him. But that was a good manoeuvre from Yorsogos there. Talviti taking a look to the inside. Leaves getting in the way a little. Brown are going for Martikainen up in front. And these guys behind will be praying that nothing happens between those two, because they are right in the crosshairs. Look at that, Argos almost taking a look at Brown there. He is really being held up. He's not happy with the situation, and who can blame him? He knows they're not really racing. As much as they are officially racing for position, it's not going to matter as far as the championship is concerned. Here we go up the hill towards the difficult Bergwerk section. I think it's Versiphen next, is it? Unless I'm very much mistaken. I am very much mistaken. It is indeed. It's the corner dubbed Miss Hit Miss. Whichever that one may be. Famously, of course, sim racers dubbing it that due to the fact that you're supposed to hit the second apex rather than the first or the third in that sequence. Oh, we're starting to get away a little there. As Brown finally clears Martikainen, there we go. Cheetah Morris having a little bit of an off in the Ferrari. And he has a long way to get back to the pits on what sounds like an engine that is close to giving up the ghost, if it hasn't already. Indeed, I think Morris may be a retirement here. After the first third of the race, Santini is still leading from Mutram, Stojanovic, Lons, Mazurek, Anstey, Lagodin. Shepard is the top P2, or Div 2. Then we have Brown, Martikainen, and then the second place P2, or Div 2, Yorsogos, and the third place Div 2, Tony Talviti. Then it's Onri Miettinen, Maxim Tendil, Kiro Kirilov, Mark Jonzo, Jens Roos, Mariusz Lebioda, and Bob Kendall, with Morris, I think, still stopped by the side of the track there. That's interesting. Hopefully he can get it cleared before any of the leaders come through, because as much as that isn't a dodgy... Oh, there we go. He does go back to the pits. He is a second retirement. I was going to say, as much as that's a dodgy place, or not a dodgy place, it would at least be disconcerting for the leaders, but anyway, it doesn't matter now because he has cleared it out of the way, so that is good to see. Stojanovic versus Mutram. They've dropped 10 seconds behind Santini, who's still leading this race, but Stojanovic and Mutram pretty evenly matched in this. Stojanovic needs to get more into the slipstream of Mutram. I don't see why he's not quite following him down the straight there. I know he's about 2 seconds back, but still, he could benefit a lot from getting into the slipstream here. Tim Mutram really pulling away. Looks as if the BMW is much faster than the Celica in a straight lane. Indeed, Mutram pulled out almost 2 seconds on that straight. That was quite something. So yeah, I do think that the BMW is faster than the Celica. Possibly the fastest car out there in a straight line. Matteo Santini sets the fastest lap of the race so far, 8:19.618. That is ridiculously quick. Argos has passed Martikainen, but it's right before the Dottinger Hoa, so that's going to swap straight away again. Now, let's see what Talviti does, because we saw a lap ago that Talviti is definitely faster than Argos in a straight line. And he's coming from a long way back, but this is a long straight, and they've got Martikainen in this too. Now, Martikainen will probably go past Argos here, because he has a theoretically much faster car. Watch them ahead. Martikainen catching and catching. Not by the rate I'd expect him to, but they are going to be side by side by the time we head through the Bilsteiner curve and towards the steel tracker. So Martikainen takes 10th overall. Talviti catching, but again, not by the amount that I'd expect him to be, possibly due to Argos picking up the slipstream from Martikainen's car late in the straight. But yeah, I don't think the Celica is a particularly fast car in a straight line either. And Talviti's gap still about 2.6 seconds from Argos, despite the benefit of the toe there. Interesting. Max Shepard's almost caught Stefan Lagodin now. Wow. She is absolutely on a roll in this race, as she has been in quite a few in recent times. Let's watch Paul Anstey versus Michal Mazurek, as we haven't seen much of either of these drivers yet today. These guys 5th and 6th overall. So Michal Mazurek P5 in the fluorescent Porsche. Almost reminiscent of the Grello Porsches that have been run by Manthey Racing at the VLN rounds of the Nurburgring in recent years, but not quite green enough. It's just a yellow Porsche without the green, and a much older model as well. Of course, all of these cars in this race, sports cars from the well, DRM sports cars specifically, from the late 1960s and early 1970s. Sorry, late 1970s and early 1980s, my apologies. Over the hill and far away. Not that much graffiti on the track. You can see some kind of crown chalked in, but if this was real life, the track would be absolutely caked in chalk tattoos. Making it look like a SoundCloud rapper's face. But anyway, that's one of the beauties of the Nürburgring, the fact that it is just a toll road. So I suppose you could technically call it a street course, even though it really isn't. But yeah, it's basically just a toll road that they close off for race meetings and track days. And as a result, you know, anyone can just go up to the circuit and you know, graffiti on it, unless of course it is a race weekend like this. I guess you still could, but you'd have to be very, very stupid. But anyway. Gavino Pintus says, push Matteo, stay focused. Well, Matteo's definitely doing that. 11 seconds is his lead now. Santini over Muttram. So if you're a Santini fan, you're in luck today. But we still have just over half the race to go before the timer ticks to 0, so he does need to really stay focused here, which is easier said than done on a track like this. Big slide from Mazurek, look at that. That was quite something, that. Anstey getting a bit of a drive on him. Oh, look at that, I Love Sabine is written on the track there, referring, I presume, to Sabine Schmidt, who was recently, well, not recently now, but a few years ago, diagnosed with cancer. Wishing her the best. Argos has just got back past Martikainen again. So, yeah, definitely in the corners, Argos a lot faster than Martikainen, and possibly even any of the other Div 2s. It's just, of course, when they get to the Dottinger Höhe and places like that on the lap that the Martikainen goes flying through. Hello as well to Lala, or Lael, I don't quite know which, my apologies, in the YouTube chat. Thank you for joining us as well, and I hope that you are enjoying this. We're now halfway into the timer, at least. Remember what I said in qualifying, when the timer ticks to 0, there could still be quite a long time, as Martikainen takes a look at Argos. But yeah, there could still be quite a long time left to go before the end of the race. Gionzo, I think, has had a little off, just recovering. Oh, Anstey! I was just going to say, so Flamethrower 3000 in the YouTube chat said, show Mazurek and Anstey, and I was just about to do that, but it looks as if Anstey has, yeah, he's lost 12 seconds there, so he's had a little off, and he might have another one if he pushes that hard again. Sorry that we missed that. Whether that was contact with Mazurek or not, I don't think we'll ever know, but, yeah, Mazurek keeps P5 for the time being, Anstey drops to 6th. The main reason I keep coming back to this battle between Urgos and Martikainen is, as Martikainen's slower on the exit, is not because it's important race-wise, but because it, well, it could be important race-wise if it allows Talviti to get back at Urgos, because Talviti is right there. And, if Urgos is continually held up by Martikainen at this, there's really nothing stopping Talviti from attacking him as much as he likes for the remainder of this race. Urgos needs to start building up a gap, and he can't do it when there is a car as big as the Celica in the way. Look at that, Martikainen a little bit more squirrely through the through those corners. Almost sideways he goes, and Jos Urgos still in P11 overall, 0.3 of a second behind Martikainen there, but look where we are on the track. We're at Schwalbenschwanz, which is 3 corners from the Dottinger Hut, and then of course we get Martikainen pulling away. Well, actually that wasn't Schwalbenschwanz, but we were approaching Schwalbenschwanz. But then of course we get Martikainen pulling away temporarily until we reach the Stilstrecke, and then Urgos starts to catch up again. This looks like a cycle that could continue for quite some time. 26 minutes remaining, and Martikainen bounces off the wall. That's going to hold up Urgos. Urgos to the inside, and still can't find a way through, despite Martikainen literally flinging his car at the scenery. Urgos still stuck in P11, and he's going to be under real threat from Tony Talviti heading down the Dottinger Hur this time. Urgos will get a bit of a slipstream from Martikainen. Let's ride on board with him. Now Martikainen's going to start pulling away most likely. But look at Talviti in the mirrors. Watch the mirrors, watch the mirrors. Talviti is gaining and gaining. He has a double toe. Urgos actually going with Martikainen. That Celica really not quick in a straight line, is it? Towards the Stilstrecke. Somehow Talviti has not been able to get onto the back of Urgos anywhere near as fast as, or as much as expected. And he stays behind him. It's worth noting as well that Phil Brown has managed to get... Oh, as Martikainen makes a big mistake and goes into the wall, and he splits the two Div 2 cars. Talviti alongside him, but they're on a straight now. On the inside is Martikainen, on the outside is Talviti. And yes, it looks as if Martikainen is going to split the two battling Div 2s. Talviti back to the inside. Martikainen's going to run a little wide here. And Talviti gets back through. So what's the gap between the two Div 2s after all of that? It's about 1.7 seconds. The gap for the lead in Div 2, meanwhile, almost 17 by Max Shepard over Jos Urgos. That's quite something there. ...24 minutes remaining on the timer, but this race could be up to maybe even 32 minutes or so from now. Probably won't be quite that long. It'll probably go about 3 or 4 minutes over time, but it really depends on where they are on track at that point. Flamethrower 3000 says, how is damage set? Let me just double check that actually, because I think there is a way that I can find that out. I know that the series briefs used to show damage at least. I'm not sure if they still do actually. It's at 100%. Yeah, according to the series details, the damage is at 100%. So Matsukanen got very lucky balancing off the barriers there. Mariusz Lebioda, I'm afraid, has retired from this race, so he is the third retirement. 20 cars remain. Alex Tanchio says Santini rocket. Indeed, Santini still absolutely running away with the competition. 11.4 seconds down in front. So much so that we haven't really seen him since the start. I'll take a look at him at some point. But anyway. Interesting to see so many Santini fans here today. And thanks for joining us, Alex Tanchio. Yes, you did hear properly, Flamethrower 3000. The damage is at 100%. Whoa, we're about to have it demonstrated, I think. Lagodin touches the barrier. Okay, well, that was a very small glancing blow. He should be okay with that one. Yeah, a lot of the time cars do seem to get away with slightly unrealistic levels of contact. That is something that happens in a lot of different sim racing platforms. Assetto Corsa isn't the only one, but anyway, some drivers today seem to have got very lucky. But there are also times where much smaller hits can really badly damage the car. So anyway, it really depends on the platform you're using. It depends on the cars, the mods, the barriers as well. Of course, angle comes into play, and speed dissipation as you head for the wall. And hello as well to New Type, who joins us in the YouTube chat as well. That is okay. Good to see so many people here. Thanks for joining us all. Tony Talviti, less than a second behind Jos Ogos for the first time in a little while. Not that long actually. As Kirillov passes Tendil there. 14th and 15th place, still side by side. Tendil in the escort. Has the outside line, sweeps around. That was pretty good from Tendil there. Kirillov has to settle for 15th. I'm sure he won't want to settle for that, but going over the grass like that, he may not get much of a choice, I'm afraid. But yeah. Type says, "Hi Caitlin, thanks for streaming at this race." No problem. Thank you for watching it. I hope you're enjoying it so far. I'm going to be streaming the last two rounds of the championship as well. Both of those coming up the first of those coming up in 2 weeks' time, of course, at Sebring International Raceway. So if you think this track is bumpy, you ain't seen anything yet. And then, of course, the last round is at Zolder, which is a very periodically accurate track for these cars, known as the second best track in Belgium. But anyway, whether you agree with that or not is up to you. But whatever, that will host the season finale on the 10th of December, and yeah. But for the time being, we are at the classic Nurburgring Nordschleife. 3 rounds of this championship done already. And actually, I think now is a good time to say, if you do want to get involved in SimRacingOnline, you very much can. It's completely free. The only time you'd ever have to pay is maybe if we're using a mod that you haven't got yet, but of course that would be just paying for the mod itself. SimRacingOnline does do donations and things, but it doesn't expect you. They don't expect you to donate. It's very much just kind of turn up, have fun, be part of the community, and drive. And you can actually do that on multiple simulators too. It doesn't just have to be Assetto Corsa. We also do races on Assetto Corsa Competizioni, R-Factor 1, R-Factor 2, Automobilista 1, Automobilista 2, Project Cars 2. In the past we've done Race 07 as well, so there may be an opportunity for another one of those. So yeah, whichever is your racing sim, providing it's not iRacing, we have a series for you. So yeah, make sure that you head over to simracingonline.co.uk and sign up for any one of those things that interests you. If you want to race against me, actually. Not that I'm anything special behind the wheel, but anyway, I'm doing a couple of the R-Factor 2 championships at the minute. I'm doing the Formula 3 International Cup as well as the historic Formula 3 trophy. So basically anything with Formula 3 in the name, so long as it takes place on R-Factor 2. But anyway, back to the race for the time being. Jos Ogos, who seems, and I think Martikainen had an off. Yes, he has. Bump into the wall. And that will clear Ogos and Talviti a little, because Martikainen is now behind Miettinen as well. Sorry, so as I was saying, Ogos and Talviti were pretty close there. Now Ogos is driving in a much more lively way than I've seen him driving before. He's employing much more kind of all-wheel drift than I've ever seen him use before. And that's not always a good thing, but it's not a bad thing either. And when you can use it to your advantage, it really, really helps. As up the straight they go. The guy behind them now is Omri Miettinen, who is fighting them for position, or would be if he was really in the battle. Mark Jonzo having a spin there. I think he has about a minute's worth of time to get going before the next car comes through, so he's got plenty of time to get that car pointed in the right direction, and off he heads again. Talviti dropping to 2 seconds behind Ogos at this point in time. Let's take a look at Matteo Santini. He is still absolutely flying around this Nordschleife circuit, and this is what it looks like from on board. The fastest guy on track right now, from his 1980 Ford Capri into Schwedenkreuz, taking just the right amount of curb. That was very well judged. Into Arenberg, one of the only corners on the track with a gravel trap waiting to catch you. Seems to be only catching Ferraris today. I think Anstey's gone off there twice and Brown once as well. Down into the Fuchsröhre, or the Foxhole, and then up towards the Ardennes Forest. Forced rather than forest. A lot of people get that one wrong, especially when you're used to pronouncing it in an anglicised sort of way. Martikainen, meanwhile, has come into the pit, so I think he had possibly a bit too much damage there. Let's go back to Santini for the time being. The track seems to open up here a little. The walls aren't quite so close, and then of course they come right back in. And once again, you have no margin for error. A tight downhill chicane, or not chicane, but hairpin. I'm going to continue to ride on board with Santini until at least Versiphon, so you can see just how kind of blind and downhill Versiphon is. I believe it's the next corner. Watch this. It's almost like a corkscrew. That was great driving from Matteo Santini there. He is absolutely the class of the field at this point in time, as he continues to lead it by 11.4 seconds over Tim Muttram. Santini probably could have won at Brands Hatch as well, but the Fords had a bit of a problem back then, where they just couldn't conserve their tyres, and the Four of course had to make a pit stop, and Santini probably should have made a pit stop, ended up spinning about all over the place, I'm afraid. But he's definitely coming back stronger today. Maybe speaking too soon. We still have about 13.5 minutes to go until the timer ticks to 0. But he is currently leading from Muttram, Stojanovic, Lons, Majdarek, Anstey, Brown and Lagodin, the top 8. Max Shepard is the top Div 2 car. So let's have a look back at the Div 2 battle for second place now between Ogos and Talviti. Miettinen in the background, but still a little way off. Really, it's between Ogos and Talviti. And Talviti, for his championship contention, his championship points, will be not quite desperate to get past Ogos. I think he will still be leading the championship at the end of this round at this rate, but he certainly won't want to sit behind him for that much longer. So we'll see what he does. These two, the closest two cars on track at this point in time. Jens Vries, I think, has had enough, and that's on the Grand Prix tracker. Oh, it's just heading off the Grand Prix tracker actually, onto the or out towards the Hatzenbach. I always think it's pretty ironic when you do the full Nordschleife for many times over, and then make a mistake on the Grand Prix circuit. That happens sometimes in the main 24 hours or the VLN, and I just can't help but think every time that's gotta be a little embarrassing. You know, the Nurburgring Grand Prix tracker, it's not the easiest of Grand Prix circuits, but you know, compared to the Nordschleife, it's really supposed to be a bit of a breather. But anyway, I don't mean to make fun of Jens Vries by saying that. I'm just saying it's got to be a little embarrassing at times. I didn't even see what happened to Vries. For all I know, he could have been wiped out by a bird or something. Not that Assetto Corsa simulates that. Tony Talviti. That's a good shot. I'm not sure if that driver looks like Tony or not, but anyway. That was a good shot there. You can see all of the internal workings of the driver's compartment of the... It's not really a cockpit, but you know, the driver's compartment of the car. On the back fender, Tony Talviti looking over his mirrors rather than into them. He doesn't care too much about Miettinen behind him, despite the fact he knows Miettinen is catching. But what he really cares about is Ogos in front of him. Miettinen definitely catching there. You see him in the rear shot. He was about 3 or 4 seconds behind them last time I looked, and now he's about 1.3 seconds behind them. So Miettinen definitely catching. In fact, he's closer now to Talviti than Talviti is to Ogos. That's quite something. This could really take the pressure off Ogos here. Probably for the first time in this race, Ogos has been well and truly in the scraps. The important changes of position in the race so far. And Talviti, I think, slightly slow out of the corner. That was weird. I wasn't expecting him to be past there, but Miettinen is through into third in class. Yeah, so I don't know what happened there, but anyway, Tony Talviti down to P3 in his class, or P4 in his class, and Miettinen up to P3. Despite those at least 2 spins we saw earlier. Good recovery drive from Henri Miettinen. But anyway. So, Paul Anstey, I think, has had enough. There we go, in the Ferrari, kicking up the dust. That looks to be the Hatzenbach to me. Indeed, puts the power down. Has about 40 seconds to fill brown. That's not the Hudson bag actually, that's the steel Stracker. Manages to keep it out of the pit lane. And does he have any damage? Doesn't look like it. These drivers do appear to be getting away with a lot today, it seems, yeah. Chidamura says, enjoying the stream here, Caitlin. That's good to hear. Sorry that you had to retire from the race, but good to see that you're enjoying the stream. Lael says, are there two classes? Yes, indeed, there are. You have Division 1, which contains Ferraris, Ford Capris, as well as the BMW M1 Turbo of Tim Muttram, and the Porsche 935s as well as the Toyota Celicas, whereas Division 2 has the BMW 2002s, the Ford Escorts, and the what's the other one? It is the Lancia Beta, that's right. Personal best lap for Stefan Legraden. That's relatively interesting. Tony Talviti, losing out to Miettinen pace-wise there on the straight. Possibly tagging the barrier a bit. Jos Ogos also set his personal best lap of the race. Not as quick as Miettinen, so he's pushing to try to get away. But Miettinen is flying at this point in time. Now where's the leader on the lap actually? Okay, so it looks as if we're going to get one more lap after the one that the leaders are currently on at this rate. And that sounds like we're in the closing stage of the race, but we could still be in for another 10 or so minutes of driving because of just how long this circuit is. So don't get too fidgety just yet. Let's have a look at Filip Stojanovic in the Toyota Celica. That's a great shot there. Really, really nice. These cars are beautiful. There's not much that you can do to deny that. A bunch of drivers are setting their personal bests for the race now. Kirill also doing so. But it tends to be the drivers near the back of their classes, which is interesting. I wonder if those drivers are just starting to get used to the track, I suppose. Just get into the swing of things. It could also be that they're running much less fuel now, because of course they are. But I'd have thought that the tyre wear would outwear that, since most of these cars, I think all of these cars are on slicks. But anyway, what do I know? I've actually never done a proper race on Assetto Corsa, so to be honest, I wouldn't know. Stojanovic, power down. Yellow Celica looks nothing like the Celicas that you'd know from the early 2000s, the late 1990s. Those were very, very different Celicas. Back in those days, they were more like wedges, really, with distinctive, unrecognizable, or unmistakable, not unrecognizable, but unmistakable eye patterns almost with the headlights. I'm not sure if you know what I mean by that, but anyway, it was quite an eye-catching car. Nowadays, Celicas, they're good, I suppose. I always find that they try to look a little too much like a sports car or a supercar, but anyway, still good. Jens Friis, I think. Oh wow, doing donuts there, down at the Steel Stracker. Easy place to do it. You're going from such a section of high speed to such a section of low speed that sometimes the car can just do a funny little pirouette, and there's not really much that you can do about it. Control is hard to come by at times. Here's Paul Anstey in the Ferrari. Anstey with fire spitting from the back. Just showing us another reason why we love these DRM revival cars. It's a really good mod as well. Thank you to everyone who worked on this mod. Stojanovic was the beta tester. But of course, earlier this season we actually had Dennis Matses, who was one of the creators of this mod, doing the first round from Brands Hatch. So yeah, great to know that they're so invested in their project, and as I said, they've done a wonderful job in making it what it is that we know today. Polanski into the Steels tracker towards the Caracciola carousel, named after Rudolf Caracciola, the pre-war German Grand Prix driver. Flamethrower 3000 says, anti in a Ferrari, it looks like a Lancia. It does kind of look like a Lancia. Oh, as I think Phil Brown's retired in another Ferrari. That's a shame. Brown, I think, was running 7th. Yes, indeed. So that's a big shame to see. But actually, never mind. He's back in the race. So I reckon. Oh no, he's out. Never mind. It was just my screen playing tricks on me. So yeah, unfortunately, it looks as if Phil Brown will not be finishing this race. We're going to have 18 cars still on the road at this point in time. He's still going relatively well. Omri Miettinen now right in the back of Jos Ogos. Look at this. This is the scrap for second in Div 2. Max Shepard only just off the road. Omri Miettinen might still win this at this rate. It's going to be really tough, especially since they have one more lap to go after this, but you could just about still do it, you know. Another thing I'm wondering about is hopefully everyone put in enough fuel for this race. Of course, since the race could theoretically go on for quite a lot longer than the timer suggests, there is a real possibility that some of the drivers would have misjudged that and underfueled. So hopefully they didn't end up doing that, but we shall see. Omri Miettinen chasing down Jos Ogos, who got his first SimRacingOnline victory just last week. Miettinen himself, no stranger to victories. He's had a few, and he is going for another one here at the Nordschleife. Miettinen, a relatively big rival of Talviti's anyway. Not sure how many races he's had with Ogos in the past. Miettinen won the Ginetta Super Cup of 2017 back in 2019, because that's not confusing at all. And has had a few wins since then. Pole to flags in 2 rounds of the ACC Sprint Series 2 that happened near the start of this year. And some strong showings since then. Also participated in the Nordschleife Challenge Series, so that should be really helping him today. As Polanski is now up into 5th ahead of Michal Mazurak. So I think Mazurak, well look at that, Mazurak a long way down on that last lap, maybe 20 seconds down. I reckon he had some sort of incident. Now where's Santini? Santini in the middle of nowhere on the lap, but yeah, Matteo Santini is on his last lap of the race. He's actually at Hatzenbach, so this could still be a pretty long lap or a pretty long race at this point. It is going to go about 5 or 6 minutes over the prescribed time. Jos Ogos has passed Max Shepard, has he? Yeah, look at that. Ogos has passed Shepard with the slipstream. Talviti's passed Miettinen, so it's all swap here. Shepard coming back at Ogos. This is for the lead in Div 2. On the penultimate lap of the race. He's got it back, but for how long? So it's Shepard, Ogos, Talviti, Miettinen. So Talviti gets that place back. Omri Miettinen back down to P4, but takes the inside line. Talviti run wide, and now it's Shepard, Argos, Miettinen in Div 2. That's going to come right down to the flag. And yeah, it seems we're still going to be sat here talking about racing in about 9 minutes time, so yeah, get comfortable, I guess. Matteo Santini doesn't have that much longer to go on this lap. Well, he kind of does, but anyway, doesn't have much longer to go in the race in general. Whereas Argos and Shepard are going to fight to the flag for the Div 1 victory. Kirillov and Tendel just swap places for P5 in class as well. Argos with an undercut with a switchback on Shepard, and that was a brilliant move from Jos Argos there. Just found the grip where Shepard couldn't, and Jos Argos, number 1, is number 1. What a great move from the Ford Escort driver. That is how you do it on the Grand Prix tracker. Shepard may still have something to say about that, especially when we get to the Dottinger Hurt. We'll see. But yeah, that was absolutely fantastic. Opportunistic driving there. Shepard back to the inside. Took a look, had to back out of it. Where's the leader? Still a little way to go on the lap, yeah. As Argos and Shepard continue to fight with Miettinen, hoping to get in on it as well. Any of these 3 drivers could win this race. This is going to be a thrilling conclusion to the Division 2 race. In Division 1, the gap's actually come down to 6.7 seconds, but that's, as I said, too little too late. Miettinen, take a little look again at Shepard. Back to the inside. Into the hats and back. He is really trying to unsettle Shepard at this point in time. He knows he's not going to pull a move there, but if Shepard overcompensates, over-defends, maybe is a little too cautious, then absolutely Miettinen can go through. This is a great race. Over the crest of the hill. Big, almost big air from Miettinen in the background there. And Shepard keeps his place for the time being. Keeps her place for the time being, my apologies. Omri Miettinen. P3 in class, P10 overall. He's already got a podium place so long as he can hold off Talviti, but at this rate that's doubtful. It all depends on the Dottinger Hurt. So Miettinen could do with building himself out a little bit of a buffer here. He's slipstreaming Max Shepard, heading up the hill. This is strong from Miettinen. Look at that, Shepard just unable to get the car turned in a little. Does appear to be a little bit of an understeery car compared to the Escort. Miettinen still hounding him. Into the section of grass that seems to widen up on either side. Mainly because it does. And then back into full concentration mood. Shepard got a little bit sideways on entry, but kept control of it. Omri Miettinen all over the rear bumper, flames licking from the diffuser, from the exhausts. Not the diffuser, that wouldn't be very good, but yeah, from the exhausts. Some cars have the exhaust. Oh, and Shepard! Shepard's been tagged, I think! Did Talviti tag Shepard? Or did Miettinen tag Shepard? I think that he may have done. Either that or Shepard lost it on her own. So I think Shepard's going to be 4th in class after all of that. Let me look back at the replay quickly. But yeah, it looked to me as if Miettinen, yeah indeed, Miettinen tagged Shepard. That is a big shame. And I would not put any of the fault there on Max Shepard. So it's a big shame if she loses the podium through that. Here's Matteo Santini, who has 5 seconds of a gap to Muttram. And Miettinen, I think, has just given the place to Shepherd. Yes, indeed he has. That's really sporting. There was a big gap between them. But yeah, Miettinen backed off to let Shepherd through. So Shepherd, it looks as if she will still score a podium position here at this rate at the Nordschleife because of some very sporting driving by Omri Miettinen. And that is what we like to see. Tim Muttram tried to bring it back on Matteo Santini, but it's going to be too little too late. There you see Stojanovic in the background. Matteo Santini, who had a slow start to the series, is about to become the 4th different winner from 4 different races in this championship. And celebrate, going from the very bottom of the pile to the very top. There we go, Matteo Santini wins at the Nordschleife, and what a place to do it. Tim Muttram will be 2nd. Filip Stojanovic just has a couple of corners to go until he is 3rd. There we go, Stojanovic crossing the line, P3. We now wait for the rest of our competitors. All of them will be on the lead lap, so let's watch them one by one, regardless of class. Actually, Miettinen could still pass Shepherd here. This is for 3rd in Div 2. It looks as if even though Miettinen gave way to Shepherd, he is still going for the move. Oh, they touch again, look at that! And they just about get away with it. They were banging doors through there. And here's a tight section of track. Are they going to bang doors again? Not quite. I wouldn't want to go side by side through here. Look at that. I think it's brunching coming up soon, so they really don't want to go side by side through there. I have a feeling they might anyway. They have been side by side for corner after corner, and Shepherd's in the wall. Shepherd's misjudged it and has bounced off the Armco. Such a shame for Max Shepherd. And I think she has some very slight steering damage, potentially. Not very noticeable, but anyway. It looks as if she's going to lose a podium. Firstly, through no fault of her own. And by that I mean the first incident wasn't her fault. The second one, maybe she just misjudged that. But anyway. Michal Mazurek is about to finish 6th overall, sorry. It was Glantz who finished 4th overall. And then Anstey who finished 5th, so Mazurek 6th. Stefan Lagodin is a minute behind Mazurek actually in the Ford Capri. So you get to see the last minute of the track all over again. Doesn't have to worry about anyone slipstreaming him. Talviti might have a go at slipstreaming Ogos here actually. This is for the lead of Div 2. I think he's going to be too far back, but this is actually pretty close on the last lap here between Ogos and Talviti, especially as far as the Nordschleife goes. The closer you get to the car in front, the more of a slipstream effect you actually have. But yeah, it looks as if... Oh, and Shepherd's gone back to the pit. Oh, that's such a shame. Maddie Shepherd. It looks as if she is going to be well and truly down the order compared to where she should have been there. And I will be offering my sincerest condolences to her after the race. Jos Ogos P8, but wins Division 2. Tony Talviti 2nd. And yes, Jos Ogos very much deserved that. That is his first touring car victory. And what a victory it was, and what a place to take it as well. Ogos, he never wins at the easy circuits, does he? Andrei Miettinen will be 3rd in class, spins it across the line, because of course he does. Kira Kirilov is going to be P4. You can see Maxim Tendel there slipstreaming him behind. I think Mark Jonzo's just had another incident. Shepherd will not finish the race, I'm afraid, so... Not entirely sure why she went back to the pits then, because she was still well and truly on for a big heap of points, but Shepherd is not sure whether she's going to be making the next round anyway. Kira Kirilov coming out of the final corner, and will claim 11th place. 4th in class, not bad at all. Gavino Pintus says great commentary. Ah, thank you. Thank you very much. Riccardo Gengotti says bravo Santini. Indeed, Santini has done a wonderful job here today. Still, cars are coming through to the finish because of just how long this circuit is. Kimi Matikainen. Eventful race, not a very good one, but at least he finishes. Mark Jonzo, very much the same could be said for the brightly coloured Porsche driver. Max Shepard, a slightly mystery retirement at the end there, but anyway. And that will be the end. So, Santini, Mutram, Stojanovic, Lons, Anstey, Mazurek, Lagodin, Ogos winning Div 2. Great drive from Jos, and less than a second in it to Tony Talviti as well. That was absolutely great driving. I'm going to give my driver of the day to Jos Ogos there for his first touring car victory. But Matteo Santini also did a great job to win by 3.299 seconds in the Div 1 category. Kirill Kirillov was P11 overall, and it was Maxim Tendel. Kimi Matikainen, I think Max Shepard will be classified 14th due to the fact the timer expired before some of the drivers behind could finish. So Shepard 14th, then it's Mark Jonzo, Bob Kendall, Jens Roos, John Vannegees, Tor Brown, Mariusz Lebioda, Cheetah Morris, and Lewis DeFore. So that is the end of this race here. Was Stefan Lagodin's car sitting there for the entire time? Yeah, Lagodin, it seems to have loaded in 2 cars for him, and one was just sitting there the entire race. That's so weird. Whatever the case, that is all that we have time for today. So thank you all for tuning in. We had quite a few people in the YouTube chat today, which is always good to see. Remember to join us in 2 weeks' time for the round at Sebring, which could be a championship decided for both classes, depending on how it goes and who shows up. But for now, good night.